Hello and welcome back to Mr. Edelman's fantastic math class. Today we're going to deal with the section dealing with distance and midpoint. We're going to start off with what I think is sort of one of the easier portions of this section. It's the distance on a number line. And it's hopefully you'll find it pretty straightforward, but there are some tricks to it. So let's take a look at the generic example. We want to find the distance between A and B. Let's say that point A is x units away from 0, and we'll say that B is y units away from 0. So what this tells us is that we can find the distance from A to B by finding the absolute value of x minus y, or we could have also found the absolute value of y minus x. You'll find that it comes out to be the same thing. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, why can't I just add up and say that's 1, 2, 3, 4 units away? This does work. Will work almost every time. The issue is when you get to very large numbers or numbers with decimals, or when you cross the point 0, where you go from negative to positive numbers. So let's take a look at some things, a couple examples. Now example A here is pretty straightforward. We want to know what the distance between point C and point D is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to subtract. Now I could do 12 minus 18 and take the absolute value of that, but it's a little easier to go 18 minus 12. So I'm going to go 18 minus 12. And then I'll take the absolute value of that. So 18 minus 12, that's going to be 6, so it's the absolute value of 6. And as you know, the absolute value of 6 is simply 6. So there's our answer. So that's pretty straightforward if you have positive numbers that aren't too far apart. Let's take a look at some negative numbers here. So we're going to find the distance from F to G, and notice that we are now on the negative side of the number line, but the same thing applies. I'm going to find the absolute value of F, so it's negative 5 minus, here's where it can get tricky. I'm still subtracting, but it's a negative 2, so it's minus a negative 2. So that equals 5. And when you minus a negative 2, you should know that that becomes positive, so I'm going to add 2. So I get the absolute value of negative 3, and the absolute value of negative 3 is just 3. Okay, now let's take a look at an example of where we go from the negative side of the number line to the positive side of the number line. So I'm going to take the absolute value of negative 2 minus a positive 2, and so when you have a negative minus a negative, we're really going to add the two numbers, so it's going to be minus 4, the absolute value of minus 4, and so the absolute value of negative 4 is a positive 4. So hopefully you find this pretty straightforward. What you're doing is subtracting one number from one endpoint from the other endpoint, and taking the absolute value of that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in class or on my blog. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.